Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 161 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on May 2nd, 2023. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I hope you're all doing well on this fine spring day. Man, weather's awesome. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I had a short weekend vacation, which is not common. Yeah, two or 3 days off is a pretty big deal to me. So that was nice. That was very nice. I've been riding my bike. Super fun, really great, good activities. Quick public service announcement though. We talk about PPE a lot. Personal protective equipment. Hearing protection, eye protection, gloves. Things like that. I tell you what, if you ride a bike, make sure you wear a helmet. I had a pretty nasty spill on Sunday evening when I was riding, and helmet ended up saving my life there, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty banged up, but I'm okay enough to record the podcast and still work, and stuff like that, which is a pretty big deal. You bust yourself up on a bike Sunday evening, and then you go to work Monday morning. It's like, it wasn't easy, but I did. I could work, which is important. The foam of the helmet cracked. I hit my dang head so hard. So if you're involved in an accident with a helmet and there was a helmet impact, if you're wearing a helmet in an accident and the helmet impacts something, you usually need to replace it, because the shock propagation through the foam and everything, the properties, the material properties of the helmet, the mechanical properties of the helmet will change, if you crack it there. So, it's just a public service announcement for folks, if you're ever dealing with that. My helmet has a suspension system in it as well. It's called MIPS. So it helps, lessen the propensity for further damage to your old brain there. So that's good. So I don't even have a headache or anything, which is really cool. The rest of my body is not so lucky. I'm having trouble. I have rib problems. It's better today. Yesterday, there's no way I could do the podcast because I can't take deep breaths. Ow. It hurts to laugh. Ow. Ow. There's so much. And so when I laugh, it's a problem. But anyway. Ow. Oh, I got to stop making myself laugh. Relatively quick episode for you guys today. Pretty packed week. Ow. I got tickled my funny bone. It's a pretty packed week this week. So on this episode, we're gonna hit listener questions again. I think it'll be cool. I'm gonna talk to you about some pending data publications that I can hopefully get out to you this week. I mean, what a week. But I'm going to try to do that for you. And then I'm also, of course, going to give you guys some thanks for making PEW Science go worldwide. Yeah, which is super neat, I think. Okay, but first, a word about my gracious sponsors. That's right, the J Situation Podcast is proudly sponsored by Top Gun Range Houston. And I'm going to be there on Saturday, May 13th. They asked me to do an appearance there. It's like a day at the range with PEW Science, they're calling it. And so I'm gonna go there and check out their range because I've never been to their range. I'm gonna go check it out and meet all of you if you come out there as well on Saturday, May 13th. So if you're in the Houston area, you might want to check out their range. They got 15-lane indoor range there. They got the largest firearm rental fleet in the state of Texas. You can rent all the guns there. Machine guns, pistols, rifles, shotguns, all that stuff. Maybe try out some guns you never shot before. That's kind of why I don't really go to indoor ranges a lot. But I remember back in the day, an indoor range was where I fell in love with my SIG P226. I was hooked. I shot an old West German P226 at an indoor range once. It was the first centerfire pistol that I really ended up really liking. And I never would have known, back then unless I had shot it. And that's a real story. And you too can be inspired to get a cool gat. Anyway, yeah, check out their firearm rental fleet or inventory on their website, topgunrange.com. You can find them on Instagram at topgunrange. And maybe I'll see you guys in a couple weeks or so. And the J Situation podcast is also sponsored by High End Armament Technologies. That's right, a dealer of exactly that, high-end arms and accessories. Significant longevity in the machine gun game, the NFA game, the procurement and operation and night vision and thermal and infrared and just everything, dude. Infrared sighting systems, lasers, as they say. Yeah, no, Robert and his crew have been around the block. They know a thing or two about a thing or two. So if you're trying to find something, it's super hard to find, and you're like, I need to call the wolf, like, Pulp Fiction, as they say. Yeah, call him, dude. Instagram at High End Arms, Facebook page, High End Arms. I implore you, go check him out. Tell him Jay sent you. Also, this podcast is sponsored by Silencer Shop. You can use their kiosk, do your fingerprints and photos electronically. And in turn, you cut down on errors, you simplify your silencer purchasing process, you buy a silencer from the couch when watching Netflix with your wife. Money back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors, just you and your silencer with no drama. It truly is silencer ownership simplified. Thanks, Silencer Shop. You're good enablers. And as always, check out the coupon codes of the show notes with every episode. True Shotgun Club out of Arizona, as well as Magpul code PSTEN to get $10 your $10 today. $10 off your order of $100 or more at magpul.com. Stock up on mags for the impending apocalypse. I saw, ChatGPT is around, and that's pretty much the Terminator. So we don't have much time. Lastly, this podcast is sponsored by PEW Science, pushing the silencer industry forward one test at a time. That's right. Visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating, the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response. From the entire gunshot, from before combustion takes place all the way into all the combustion is gone. And PEW Science is the home of the Silencer Sound Standard. 7 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data and analysis in the world. Check it out on pewscience.com. And you can support this podcast. You can support PEW Science. You can support all the testing that I do for you by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. There's a donate feature on the review page, on the podcast page. Every little bit helps. And something that's free, doesn't cost you anything. Give this podcast a good rating on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast. And that will let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome, which will hopefully normalize the use of suppressed small arms and, give us more friends. It's always good to have friends, I think. 3 topics prepared for you today. Topic 1, listener questions are back. Let's dive in to the 5th solicitation once more to explore your queries. Topic 2, new sound signature reviews this week. This week? Strong maybe. Could be. Hopefully. It's time for something a little different. I'm gonna give you a little twist this week. I think you should buckle up because it's going to be wild. That's right. Stay tuned. Topic 3, thank you for your interest worldwide. Becoming the go-to source for independent third-party testing analysis is very prideful. It's something that fills me with pride. You got to stay humble, but at the same time, it's a big deal. I feel very proud of all of this, and it's a lot of responsibility. So I do want to thank all of you for supporting the effort to make it possible. I wouldn't be here without you. Okay, so let's go into topic 1 at a time in 9 minutes and 5 seconds. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, dude, my body's so sore. It's like, you hurt your ribs and you realize just how important the integrity of your ribs are for being able to move. It's like, wow, I didn't know everything hurts to do everything. Oh, does that hurt? Yes. What about this? Also hurts. What about this? Yep, that's right. You got it. You guessed it. Hurts. It's like that meme when the guy's like, he does something, he's like, straight to jail. What about this? Also straight to jail. That's what my ribs do. Okay, so let's jump into listener questions. There are way more than I thought, so perhaps I will start to hit some more often in the episodes here, because we're still in the 5th solicitation, and we're deep in there, and there's no end in sight. I had a lot to speak about last episode, so we didn't get to them, turns out. So I think we should hit a few today. I really like these. I think they're cool. You learned something. I learned something. Everyone learns something. It's a journey. So let's go into our spreadsheet. If you're just tuning in to the podcast for the first time, this is a recurring series on the J Situation podcast in which we've done 5 big solicitations on social media there in the old Instagram stories. And this is like crazy. So last time, and you can always find listener questions with the listener questions metadata tag at pewscience.com/podcast. So last time we left off, last question we answered here on the podcast was question 367, sub-question 76 of the 5th solicitation. That question was, is there anything Pew Science members commonly do that hurt the effort we should stop? That was a really interesting question asked by someone. They're like, are we going too hard in the paint? Like, and you're almost asking for guidance, almost asking for me to police you. Maybe not police you, but give you some guidance on what is expected of you, as a man or woman operating under your own moral code. Really, I went on to say that, I think spreading the word is awesome. I think that's really great. I think helping people is awesome. I think the main point of my answer was that I don't think you should ever denigrate others and talk down to people. I think that some people do that publicly. Companies, companies will say things that are very unprofessional and rude to other companies and stuff. And it's easy to see who does that, right? We know who those people are. We call those bad actors, right? They're pretty transparent. And the thing about Pew Science is we try not to do that. Yeah, we try to be professional and treat people with respect, even when those people treat us with disrespect. There's a famous guy a long time ago. I don't know if you know him, but there was kind of a famous parable. He's like kind of like turning the other cheek type of thing, and I do think that's a good philosophy. I think that just because someone is attacking you doesn't mean you have to attack back. You can defend yourself by all means, defend yourself, but you don't always have to stoop to their level, And I think that's important. That's just a philosophy I abide by. So that's kind of what I said last time. If you're interested in the response to that question in more detailed fashion, you can go ahead and find that episode. And we're going to go on now into this episode's questions with question 368, sub-question 77. Do you think the Angstat Arms MDP9 is worth it? Or should I just get the MP5? Oh man, I was super excited about that roller delayed host. Just so you guys know, that's the Angstat Arms MDP9 is a roller delayed blowback 9mm subgun. I was excited about it when they announced it. I haven't spoken with anyone who has used one. I think they are available, but I have not seen a wide proliferation. And that doesn't mean that they aren't out there, but it could mean that I'm missing something in the firearms community that maybe isn't super visible. I don't know. I Googled it a while back, and I think people were having issues with the gun. I'm not sure if those issues have been rectified. Okay, like for example, some folks were saying that the chamber's not fluted, which I think that's what I read a while back. So, if you recall that, the MP5 has a fluted chamber that facilitates better extraction. I don't know that they did that in the Angstat Arms version, which is interesting, right? Like, why would you not flute it? And then, the MP5 platform's very old, but you got to realize that the specifications, the dimensions of the system are pretty stringent. So, there are things that are done certain ways in the HK guns for a purpose. So, when you reimagine a thing like this, that's a funny word for copying something. When you copy something, you need to copy the correct parts or you're going to have a bad time. right? What we run into a lot of times, like the Chinese military. When the Chinese military copies U.S. Material, oftentimes they copy it, but they don't, like, they omit certain things. Like they'll copy things, but sometimes they'll just copy the look of something, but they don't realize how important the thing they're copying is, and they don't copy it correctly, and then it doesn't work. Like, remember the KVC night vision bridge thing? Or like they copied something, they copied some of the screws that they didn't understand what they did. So anyway, it's hilarious. It's not hilarious, it's actually sad. But yeah, I'm not saying that these MDP9s are no good. Like, I'm not saying that. But I would urge you to do your due diligence and learn more about what they are. Because, you know what I mean? Like, what are they exactly? I'm sorry I don't have more information for you regarding the gun, but I'm sure that because these things were announced like last year or something, they probably have some user experiences out there you can read. Now, I think don't confuse this with the other version of the Angstat thing. I think it's called the UDP9 or whatever that is. I think that's straight blowback instead of roller delayed blowback. I think that's a different gun. So I think we're done with straight blowback 9mm subguns, right? We don't, like, that's like, so, I don't know. It's 2023. Just an opinion, man. Delay or die, I say. That's what I say. Pick a method. Thank you for the question. Question 369, sub-question 78. Should we be cleaning our suppressors? And if so, how? Oh, pardon me, I got to stretch. Man, I'm telling you, I am doing way better than I was yesterday. It's a little bit better every day. But man, my ribs are like so jacked up right now. So like I'm just like, oh. It's like I sneezed earlier and I heard like all this popping in my back, like where the ribs connect, and I was like, I was like, that was one of the most painful sneezes I've ever done. No, okay, sorry, I got distracted by my pain. Cleaning your suppressors, yeah. So depending on the silencer, yeah, for sure you should be cleaning your silencers. Depends. If it's a rimfire silencer, absolutely. I've touched on this multiple times. I think I touched on this like pretty recently. If you have steel baffles in a rimfire silencer, you can just ultrasonic them with no worries, right? Super easy. You can do the same with titanium. With aluminum, you can also use an ultrasonic, but you run the risk of messing them up. So it just depends. If you can tumble the baffles in a brass tumbler, like where you tumble your brass if you're a reloader or something like that. You can use like certain media if you like. You can blast them in a blast cabinet with something not super abrasive with like lower pressure. There's all kinds of ways, right? You can use a toothbrush and some carbon cutting stuff that's safe for aluminum or something. Pick your poison for, excuse me. Ow. Oh man, mother effer, dude. Pick your poison, whatever. For pistol silencers, same thing as rimfire, but you don't need to clean them nearly as often. An interesting thing about silencer buildup, I would say, that a lot of people don't talk about is that some silencer baffle designs collect debris more than others with regard to centerfire pistol. Some of the older, really high performance designs with a lot of flow restriction could get filled more easily because of all the nooks and crannies. Like Omega baffle stuff, you could fill that thing up. Some other designs, they don't fill up as easily. And also it's a function of firing schedule. So if you put a 9mm silencer on a subgun and you go to town, that's a lot different than shooting it on a handgun. Okay? Because you in all likelihood, you're not going to be able to put as many rounds downrange in a session with a handgun at the same pace as with a subgun, right? Due to mag capacity and the type of shooting you're doing, things like that. It's not to say you can't, but you probably won't. Okay, you probably won't. So like now when it comes to rifle silencers, depending on the firing schedule, I mean, again, you might need to clean them. Some manufacturers suggest weighing the silencer when it's new and when it collects a certain amount of additional mass to clean it. Okay, so this is like obviously for like sealed silencers in general. So like depending on material, like depending on what the silencer is made out of, You can put the whole thing in an ultrasonic, and it may or may not have its finish ruined. I've seen it all, dude. You can fill it with something like, fill the silencer itself with something like CLR. If that's safe for your material, you can let it sit, then maybe blow it out with compressed air or something. A day later, let it dry, then shoot it. There are a few different ways to do that. Some people will stuff something in the end, like in the end cap orifice to plug it up. I've seen people use like old foamy earplugs to do that. There's all kinds, dude. It's weird. Some people actually, they dunk the whole thing in a bottle. And it's up to you. And it's up to your patience for mess. Okay, as well. Some rifle silencers seldom need cleaning, and that's due to their internal geometry and the coatings, or both of them. It just depends. Some of them, like the Huxworks stuff, you need to clean them. And you probably need to clean them more often than the other rifle silencers. Like, I want to say every 1,000 rounds or so. Don't quote me on that. Talk to the manufacturer, but it depends on the silencer. Okay, I think one of the most important things here is you contact the manufacturer for maintenance instructions. They're the ones selling that product, okay? So you need to know what they recommend. Okay, in the rare case they don't know, well, cross that bridge when you get there, but should be able to give you a good idea, I think. Okay, I hope that helps. Yeah, that's good. That's a good question. I think that's a good information for folks, okay, let's go. Next question. Question 370. Wait, 370, is that the right order? Yeah. 370, sub-question 79. Any monocore suppressors on the horizon? That's a definite maybe. Stay tuned, fam. I will say, stay tuned. You got to ask yourself, is there still room for monocore silencers in the market? Is there still room for that? I mean, maybe. What if here's a what if for you. What if PEW Science starts testing really primitive stuff and it works okay? Right? It's not out of the realm of possibility, right? There are a lot of different weapon types, and there's a lot of ways to skin this cat, guys, depending on the platform, right? Just because something is simple does not mean it's bad. Okay, sometimes you got to get some of you silencer nerds, bless your hearts, you're super excited about new technology, but sometimes you might not realize different parameters and what remember the full Nelson on subsonic 300 blackout? Super simple, very quiet, right? What if you could do that in other ways? If you make a silencer big enough, could you do that in other regimes? What do we know about shock reflections, right? What do we know about flow rate? What if the flow rate could remain high? What if you could mitigate shock reflection favorably? What if you could combine those two things, right? You never know. You never know, dude. There's a lot of things out there. And when you break things down to absolute basics like that in certain regimes, what do we see? Right? I don't know. I think it's something PEW Science can help quantify. Remember, way back when silencers were more primitive, PEW Science didn't exist, right? So what if we had PEW Science back then? What would we have learned? Maybe we have to test some of this stuff. Okay, so stay tuned. You might be surprised relatively soon. It's kind of serendipitous. But yeah, stay tuned. It's going to be interesting for sure, I think. It's quite interesting, as they say. Okay, let's do another one here. Question 371, sub-question 80. Any reason to use bleed-off mode on an adjustable block for a DI rifle? Okay, so I realize that has a lot of words that some people might not understand. This lady or gentleman is asking, is there any reason to use an adjustable gas block that has a mode that bleeds off pressure, like a vent, with a direct impingement AR system? Okay, and this is referring to probably the Superlative Arms gas block that has both restricted mode and bleed off mode. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? All right, so Let's see. Oh crap! Where I lost my thingy. Yeah. So, and this is a little bit strange because I swear I didn't plan this. This question, because it's funny. This guy, so this person asked this, right? And as luck would have it, I've been actually corresponding with the gentleman about this very question with regard to the superlative arms gas block. And I told him I was going to cover it on the podcast a couple episodes ago. I got busy. I had too much other stuff. And then now this person's asking it. So this is funny because, the superlative arms gas block, again, for those of you who don't know, the gas block actually lets you both restrict and vent from the same block by varying the position of the screw. Okay, now if you screw it all the way in, it's fully closed, right? But when you back it out, it gets to fully open. And if you keep backing it out, it starts to be fully open plus a bleed, which is interesting, right? And it kind of brings you back to the SCAR project from Pew Science in a way, right? Kind of makes you think. So now this superlative arms, it doesn't let you restrict and bleed at the same time, okay? Because remember, the SCAR lets you adjust your gas screws independently, and then if you use a bleed off block like the freaking KNS thing, you can bleed all different animal, right? You understand? A lot more combinations with that. But the superlative arms system does let you bleed to various degrees. So your question, sir or ma'am, here is, why would you want to bleed? So I think let's just do it. Let's kill two birds with one stone. And here's what I'll do. I'll re-explain the entire system dynamics right now. And both you who asked this question and the gentleman I was speaking to on social media about this, I think we'll both be satisfied. And then I think we'll all be better for it. And then it'll be like, tie this up in a nice little bow. Okay. Let me get a drink of water 1 second. You know what's also sore? My neck. Where it's like, not like my spine, but like, like when you fall and like your instinct is like to hold your head up so your head doesn't hit something because you're like, you don't want to die. That totally happened, and like my head hit the ground anyway, but or my helmet did. But when doing that, like the front neck muscles that like wanted that to not happen, like didn't start hurting until like days later. It's like, when you get in a car accident, right? Like when you get whiplash and like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm fine. Adrenaline's up. You're like, you have adrenaline going. You're like lifting the car off of people because you're Superman. And then like 2 days later, you can't walk. It's like that, but not. Anyway. He's dumb. Okay. So yeah, superlative arms. So, okay, let me think how to explain this. So when you restrict your gas block orifice, okay, you are reducing the flow rate into the gas tube. And during the time of dwell, when your bullet passes the port but hasn't left the muzzle, you will have less gas impulse in the tube, right? You have restricted the pressurization of the system, and the pressurization will continue at a certain rate in accordance with the blast load coming through the gas port, through the gas block orifice, into the tube, right? So the net result of this behavior is a given pressure history at your carrier key. I'm skipping some steps here, but you have some kind of given pressure history at your carrier key. When enough pressure for a long enough time accumulates, you hit a critical impulse threshold, right? Right? Your weapon unlocks, it's free to cycle in accordance with the chamber pressure history that dictates that part, right? Because remember, what's impulse? Pressure times time. It's the area under the pressure curve. You can look at that externally measured for the silencers we do. You can also look at it inside a weapon. It's the same units, okay? Same thing. So that's what happens. The weapon starts to cycle, or it's free to cycle until it unlocks and da-da-da. Okay, now, what if you started to open that screw in the superlative arms gas block? So you restricted your orifice, so you changed the impulse at your carry key and your direct impingement gun, but now you're You started to open that screw up. Okay, so what would happen? Well, you're making your orifice bigger. You're going to get more gas. You're going to increase your flow area, right? You're going to introduce more pressure faster, aren't you? You're going to introduce more pressure faster. That would ramp up your impulse, right? It's going to ramp up your impulse. You might even unlock too early relative to the chamber pressure. Okay, and then you could cycle harder maybe. Maybe the gun could be louder. Maybe you could spit stuff out of the chamber at you. Blah, 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 right? So if you keep opening the screw on the supportive block, you keep making that port bigger and bigger and bigger, eventually you start to bleed right there at the block. But that port's still open all the way. Okay? You're just bleeding gas now, too. Your gas is going into the gas tube, but it's also going to atmosphere right there. You're almost bifurcating a flow in a way, depending on the exact geometry. You understand? So, what is the difference between restricting the port and bleeding a full port? All right. So, as you can imagine, you imagine this in your head. The same pressure gets into the gas block with the bleed setting. Right? Same pressure. The same pressure pulse coming out of your barrel is going to get there if you have the block fully open, a pressure pulse comes in to the gas block, right? If you have the screw fully open plus bleed, you still get that same pressure pulse come into the gas block. Okay? You with me so far? I'm not talking about the port being restricted. I'm talking about the port being fully open versus the port being fully open with bleed. Okay? Same pressure in early time. When the pulse comes in there, same pressure. Same, all day same. Understand? We have this finite moment in time when the pressure pulse first works in there. Same pressure peak. Okay, you understand that? This might not be straightforward for you. Okay. The port is the same size as a fully open port, but when the pressure pulse enters, with the bleed off, it can vent. SpaghettiOs. Now you can vent. So, if you plotted the pressure in the gas tube or at the carrier or whatever in this closed system over time, how would that plot look like with that bleeding off port compared to a restricted port plot or a non-bleed plot? It should be a different shape, right? It should be a different shape. At first, it could be very high. You could have that same pressure, very high, because you had full port area and it let in blast load. So the initial pressure could be very high, but then what would happen? In the vented block, you're going to see decay, right? As you vent, right? So this is just based on like fundamentals, right? So I would estimate, without doing an instrumented test, I would estimate that you most likely front load your pressure curve in a bleed off scenario. You're front loading it. Okay. So to even get your thing to cycle with bleeding off, you're sending a sharp pressure pulse there. You're just changing the tail end, right? So the benefits of doing that could be that you reach that critical impulse threshold for carrier unlock, and then you don't continue to dump impulse into the system after that. Okay, so it could potentially cycle the gun differently, with less total impulse at the carrier, right? Due to the tail of the pressure curve being shorter. It's all about the timing. So the benefit of doing this in a direct impingement rifle might be cleanliness, maybe a little bit. I would think it might maintain bolt velocity if you need it in adverse conditions. Maybe I think if you had a piston system, it could maybe keep things cleaner and more reliable. And it would probably do the same thing with regard to front loading the impulse curve, because in a piston system, you're sending gas impulse through a solid rod with momentum instead of direct impingement gas. It's the same thing. It's just different material. So I think when you add a silencer and you increase your dwell time, maybe the vented setup is able to deal with that in a more linear way, because you're truncating that tail, so you don't have this like long duration buildup worry about. Maybe you have, you'd have to instrument it. I'm not sure. You really have to measure it inside. Here's the thing. The problem I had with my superlative arms block on the bleed off setting with certain silencers was that I couldn't bleed off enough to cause the weapon not to function. I think that front-loaded impulse was just cycling no matter what, and the port on the barrel was just too big, or the vent in the block wasn't big enough because the port was really big in the barrel, I think. You know what I mean? So like on an 11.5-inch mid, the silencer mount or the silencer might be too close to the muzzle to be able to bleed off all the way that screw works on that block. So that's an issue too. Also, bleed-off blocks might be louder due to the venting, but I haven't quantified that yet, so I don't know how important that is. Okay, so there are some shock things that go on as you move through the ports, so it might be different than like a war comp leak. You know what I mean? Just because you're venting gas does not mean how do I say this? Not all gas vents in the same way. Does that make sense? Not all gas venting is created equal because of the pathways and gas velocity and gas source and gas vent size and leak size and just and duration. It depends, and the ensuing propagation can be different. Okay, so I hope. So I guess back to this question, moral of the story. The later gentleman asked, any reason to use bleed off mode on adjustable block for DI rifle? Yeah, there could be. There could be. There could be, or maybe not. It could be something where you need high momentum and you don't want to dump as much gas at late time. It could depend on your silencer system. If you have a super high back pressure silencer, maybe it could be better for dynamics in a linear fashion. I don't know. It depends on the gun. I think having the options cool. I think in a perfect world, you would be able to restrict your orifice and vent and dial things in. I think I would love to do a case study on this to compare. I think it depends on the gun. It depends on the silencer. And I really want to know what happens when you vent, like with regard to signature and flash and stuff like that. Depends on the orifice, right? Super complicated. Yeah. Hope that helps. Hope that helps everybody. If you want to talk about it more, we'll talk about it more. Okay? Cool. How are we doing on time? 37 minutes? Yeah, that's all I want to hit today. I have so much to do. So we're gonna close that. We're gonna highlight that row. Okay, now I'm gonna save that spreadsheet. Well, we only did like 3 questions, huh? 4 questions. 1, 2, 3. That's enough. I have things to do, places to be. Okay, we'll close that and we'll pick up next time. Okay. Let's move into topic 2 at a time of my pen. Time of 38 minutes and 33 seconds. Okay, topic 2. New sound signature review this week. This week? Yeah. Strong maybe. It's like, is he going to release data? I mean, I want to. No, it's time for something different. I think we're kind of due, actually. It's time for something a little bit different. I think you guys are going to need to buckle up for this one. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to try to fit it in. I have been working on it. If the stars align, it's going to happen. I am not sure of the day just yet. I'm targeting Thursday. Oh my God, I don't know if I can hit it. We'll see. So what this is going to do, it's going to involve a special publication never before seen from PEW Science that I'm sure will shake up the pedigree. It's not something I thought was going to happen. I did not plan this like this. Sometimes it just happens. I think this is a reality of the state of practice and end user requirements. And you're going to see what you're going to see. And I think it is I think it's going to be super topical. Will it be controversial? I think possibly it will be. I think it's going to stoke further testing requests. I mean, will this make people want to see more of the same thing? Absolutely. Will it prove problematic for some people? Absolutely. Will I be able to answer all of your questions? Of that, I'm not certain. I don't know. But I will try very hard to do so. I will try very hard. Sometimes when people come to Pew Science and ask them to test things, I hear them out and I listen to it and I understand their requirements, what they're trying to do, and the nature of the big picture, how it's going to fit in, and I make a judgment call about whether or not I'm going to publish it and how I'm going to do it, because I have to balance client request with, larger view of the state of practice and where we're going, and kind of how it's going to shape, the research direction and kind of, data utility, as we talk about a lot, and how useful it will be to you at the end of the day, and what are we going to learn from it. And I think this is one of those things where I think it is going to show people something that I think a lot of people knew, and it's going to quantify something that I think is important, and it's a really good case study. It just so happened to happen. It was not planned by Pew Science. It was just one of those things where it's like, it's kind of a good time for it, and we'll see what happens. So when I know more about the publication date, you will know. The best way to know about a publication, like when it's published immediately, like even before the social media announcements, the best way is to subscribe to the newsletter through the website, because I send those newsletters out manually first. Like as I'm doing that, when I publish it on the website, I send the first, like I'm telling you, literally, I do this. I run this, dude. I do this. I'm telling you, right as I publish these things, I sent the newsletter out manually. Okay? I do not send the newsletter out until there is the information is available for you to read. Okay? So if you want to know real time, as fast as the email server goes, you will know. You feel me? And you will be the first person to know. No one will know before you. Okay? Like, that's the best I can do for you. It's literally the only way to know faster is to, like, be in my walls. And you can't be in my walls. You know why? Because I'm in yours. Pew Science. Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's move into topic 3. He's crazy. Topic 3 at a time of 43 minutes and 14 seconds. Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to do this in under an hour for the first time in forever. Topic 3. Thank you for all of your interest. No, really, seriously. Worldwide, all of you that listening worldwide, I know you are. Europe, Asia, Africa, the dark continent. No, you are listening. Becoming the go-to source for independent third-party testing and all the analysis I do, like becoming like the go-to place for that, it fills me with pride and joy. Like it is really, like, I have a lot of pride in that. I'm like, man, that is like awesome, but it's also a lot of responsibility, and it's kind of crazy. And I just wanted to take this time to in the podcast here, with the little time we have, to thank you for supporting the effort, because if you guys didn't support it, then this wouldn't be able to happen. And so little by little, we're chipping away at like getting this to a huge audience, and I think it's cool. This wouldn't be possible without all of you listening to the podcast and without all of you who support it. And so we've been getting a lot of international attention here at Pew Science. It's good to see. The world has been watching the grassroots development. They have been watching it here in the United States. It has garnered the attention of a lot of folks who are seeking good third-party evaluation of systems. Okay, I'm telling you, some of the tomfoolery in the United States, it made its way abroad a while back. Okay, without going into details, I'm just telling you like broad strokes here. I'm going to tell you, the world at large is not immune from falsified data. Okay, the world at large is not immune from falsified data in solicitations and things like that, like in responses to, I mean, it's crazy. But, unlike the United States, a lot of parts of the world take user safety a little more seriously with silencers. You feeling me? So it turns out Pew Science is able to help them with that. Turns out they found out about Pew Science. They found out Pew Science exists. You know what I mean? It's crazy, right? So the fact that Pew Science can help people who have fallen victim to tomfoolery, even worldwide, like outside the United States, that's awesome. Okay, and things like that happening would not be possible without your support. Like full stop. I'm telling you, even if you're not a member. Even if you don't support Pew Science with a membership, I think just listening to the podcast and spreading the word is like a huge thing. And I can't thank you enough for your interest. I think it's cool. I hope I'm doing a good job for all of you. I'm trying really hard. I'm giving it my best. So I'm going to continue to try my best to continue what I'm doing. And furthermore, I'm going to try my best to grow it to the next level as I can. I have some things in the works I'm trying to do to take it to the next level, and I hope it works. I don't know. This is completely uncharted territory for me, so I'm navigating it as I go. I'm trying to do this for everybody to try to keep it sustainable. Okay, so I see this as a very big responsibility. I am willing to take it on. I think I can do it well, and I think it's working so far. All right, so thank you again. Please stay tuned for data. I'm trying to get it out to you Thursday. If not Thursday, it will come soon after that. I'm stay tuned to the social media channels. I'm really giving this the old college try, guys. I am pushing. This whole bike accident thing set me back a little bit. You need oxygen, turns out. Not being able to breathe sucks. But yeah. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do it. All right. We're gonna see what we can do. We're gonna get a couple articles out to you. The world will rejoice and everything will be great. Okay? I will talk with you folks again soon.